Hey guys, it's Jacob, host of the All Things Running podcast, and I'm excited to be talking to Zach Michon today. We had a good chat, and I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did. He's a very fast athlete, coming from a pretty successful background ever since high school. He ran 401 in the mile this last year in 2021 and is looking to break the sub 4 barrier in this upcoming track season coming off of building an aerobic base in the fall. So, hope you guys enjoy everything. And if you are enjoying the podcast, be sure to support me by rating the podcast on Spotify, giving it a 5-star review. If you're not giving it 5 stars, just don't review it. and yeah, other than that, guys, I am looking to take on more athletes for coaching. This is a passion of mine and something I've had some success in as of late. So if you guys want to get coaching or guidance from me, just feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me at my email, which I have in the description. So anyways, having said that, guys, let's get into the video here in our chat with Zach Michon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming on, Zach. It's cool to chat with you. Cardamone actually told me to get you on. He said there's a wicked fast guy on PRTC I had to check out. So I did my research, and sure enough, you're pretty damn fast, man. So uh, yeah, I'm excited to talk with you today. We'll try to probably focus on your chase for the sub 4 a little bit, but I'd also like to talk about your time with PRTC and your origins in running. So having said that, I want to just give a quick background on you. So for everyone listening, this is Zach Michon. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
No, it's Michon.
Michon. Okay.
Yeah.
Zach Michon. I'm sure a lot of people probably say that wrong.
Oh, it's there's like a billion different ways people say it.
Oh man, well, I'm one of those people now. Well, anyway, we got Zach Michon here. He's a 401 miler who ran for St. Joseph's University. He had a pretty successful career ever since high school, 413 in the mile, or 1600, I suppose, and 927 in the 2 mile. And then going into St. Joseph's University, you got 3 school records in the indoor 3K with 805, outdoor 5K with 1353, and in the outdoor 4 by mile relay, which 1651. You were the third. Like, do you remember what you ran in that by any chance?
I remember it being on like the windiest day of the spring, but it's probably 406 or 407 on there.
Yeah. Okay. So you're probably one of the faster legs on the relay.
Yeah, for St. Joe's, but yeah, I think that whole day was kind of weird, but yeah, keep going.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk on that later. Also 5 by Atlantic 10 champion. And also some other wicked fast PRs outside of those school records. As fast as 153.9 in the 800 and 344 in the 15 and 404 for the indoor mile. So I would say you had a really successful collegiate career. And then coming out of college, you've done a number of performances for PRTC, but some of the ones that came out to the internet were the 23:38 8K for second at the 2021 Rothman 8K, and then the 401 mile, obviously, that you ran at the Sykes Sabak Challenge, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. Um,
Yeah.
Sykes Sabak Challenge at State College, Pennsylvania, which I would definitely like to talk about a little bit. But now that I've gone through the times and everyone's minds are blown, I'd like to hear about how you kind of got into running, because I think that's something that's always interesting to hear. When did you start running?
Um, Honestly, it was kind of like a family thing. Both my parents were runners. My brother, who's 3 years older than me, was a runner. And like for one season at least, my sister was. So uh, I basically felt like I had to, and I was kind of like on the cusp of like, oh, like, do I want to run track? Do I want to, play soccer in the fall? But I had a lot of friends that were doing track and cross country, so I kind of got roped into like the whole social part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after that, you get your first season of cross country, and the rest is history. You kind of just get like roped into indoor track, outdoor track, and becomes something that you do every year, and just like commit to the grind for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Were your parents good runners, or were they just kind of more casual runners?
It's honestly like both my parents are like pretty ambiguous when it comes to like their performances. My mom didn't start running till like mid 30s, and
Mm, mm.
had there's no record of his times anywhere, and he has no idea what he ran. So um, probably fast, but I have no idea. He doesn't even know.
Yeah.
So
When did you kind of realize that you wanted to run? Where, like, was it middle school or was it elementary school? How far back did it date?
yeah, well, it's interesting because like I did track in like seventh, eighth grade.
Mm, hmm.
I was that guy who's like, oh, if I try out for hurdles, I don't have to run at practice. So I was like doing weird events like high jump and like running the 100 meter and like testing everything just to get out of doing like the 2 laps around the school or whatever like pathetic distance that I was getting out of. Um, so I was like introduced to the sport in that way. But I think my competitive nature kind of took over, and I like realized that if I'm good at something, I'm gonna work at it and um, like try to work my way up the totem pole a little bit.
Mm, hmm. What did you ever have a breakthrough in your high school career where you started to really have these top performances like your 413 mile? I mean, or where you kind of was it kind of a very gradual progression for you?
Actually, I wouldn't really call it gradual. I mean, like I had a really successful freshman year. I think by the time outdoor was over freshman year, I think there's like a little like on mile split. Everyone knows mile split. There's like a little freshman uh, ranking list for the country, and I think I was ranked like seventh or eighth in the mile that year, which was like I ran like 426.9 or something, which put me on a pretty high level compared to like other freshmen
Mm, hmm.
in the country at the time. So I was like pretty stoked. I was like, oh, like maybe there's like a future in this, like
Mm.
so that like knowing that and having that chip on my shoulder, and getting embarrassed by other freshmen basically at the New Balance little national meet down in North Carolina. It was I got to really like put my nose to the grindstone here and see if I can beat some of these guys next year. And that kind of like took over, and I just became competitive in that aspect.
Mm. What was embarrassing about your New Balance experience? Because to me, 426 is insane coming into freshman year.
Yeah, the embarrassing part was that I got outleaned for like an All-American position.
Oh, okay.
I basically like let up at the line because it was like really hot out, and I was like,
Oh man.
to be done.
Did your coach going into the freshman year kind of see that you had a lot of potential? Like, did he tell you you'd be wicked fast? Because I mean, that's pretty awesome.
um, well, it's funny actually. I had like with all due respect, I had a pretty garbage coach in, in high school.
Sorry, Robbinsville. Oh man.
Yeah, up until like my last 2 seasons of high school, I didn't really have a good coach.
Mm,
But it was like, oh, go run 4 miles, and then when you get back, run like 6 150s as fast as you can. That was basically the full extent of what I was doing at
mm,
that point. And I was like, I didn't know better, like
mm.
nobody at that age knows better, like what they're doing. They just do what coach says. So
Hmm.
um yeah, and then like I slowly started to like learn and pick stuff up as I went, kind of figure out the do's and don'ts. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting to hear because when you hear times like that, you'd probably think that there's at least a decent coach, but you're saying they are garbage. So
well,
that's
yeah, no, it was more so like it's like a lack of care kind of thing. Like it was
Mm,
situations where you get stuck with like stuck with someone just like going through the motions of the role, not really like
yeah.
um taking like a serious approach and like trying to get the kids good. It's more of just like, oh, like I work here at the school. I'm just gonna do this for extra money kind of thing.
Mm. So
So,
going, oh, sorry to interrupt. Were you going to say something?
oh no, it's fine. Keep going.
Okay. I was going to say, so probably quite the switch up going into college. I mean, I was under the impression based on my research that you had a pretty good coach in college. Would you say that that was the
Yeah,
case?
Coach Glavin was fantastic. Yeah, he's I mean he took a chance on me out of high school and sort of developed me into the into like like 2-time, 3-time school record holder and
Mm.
some pretty fast times and compete well at the national level too. So I owe a lot to him for getting me there.
Yeah. So what did you like about his training philosophies? Kind of what was different about your experience in college under your coach Glavin? Was it? You said
Coach Glavin.
Coach Glavin. Yeah. What was different about that experience from high school?
He carried this really like no bullshit policy. Um, like he was very he was very like inspirational in a way because like every day at practice he would kind of open with this huge like lecture and there would be some kind of message at the end, kind of like inspire us to just like give everything we have to running. And
Mm.
like I was kind of infatuated with the idea of just like getting better and like um I was like more than willing to like put in the work, like given that I felt like I was doing it for my teammates because like having that teammate support system and being part of something like a larger movement that's bigger than yourself, like
Mm.
you're building up towards like the cross country like championship season. But yeah, kind of having Glavin be like a nice like inspirational mentor through college and then kind of having those guys around me to rally with definitely made a huge difference for me.
Mm.
Yeah, Glavin as a coach, like he's very old fashioned. He's a big fan of just beating me to the ground if I come out on the other side. But sometimes that's what it takes.
Man, it sounded like you came out on the other side at least.
Yeah, no,
Did you
I'd say
have
so.
did you have friends who didn't come out on the other side?
There was plenty. Yeah, there's. Um, I wouldn't call St. Joe's like a throw them to the wolves program. A lot of those like big D ones, but um,
Pitt.
there's definitely a level of intensity that you had to embrace, or you just get left behind.
Yeah, yeah. And it worked for you, so that's good because sometimes I think that can just break people, but
Mhm.
happy to hear that that worked for you and really helped you to grow. What was kind of his big focuses and workouts? Were you guys big on the strength side of things, or were you more coming from a speed side, given you were focusing in the mid distance?
Um, it's funny. I actually like came in to St. Joe's thinking I was a mid distance runner, and then I ran my first cross country race, and then he immediately went on to the roster and changed me from mid distance to distance. That's that's something that stands out to me. Just like a funny little event that happened. But yeah, we were a very strength oriented program. The focus was always on like building the aerobic system before anything else. But Glavin being super old fashioned, he always had this tendency to think like doing lots of race pace stuff, like goal race pace. Like if you do it like enough times, it's gonna get like ingrained into your legs. Be able to run that when the race comes. But it's interesting because like through my senior year and my 5th year, I started to take a little bit more stake in the training that I was doing. I would actually kind of like sit down with my coach and talk about like workouts I wanted to do coming up, like prepare for this race, prepare for that race. So once I started doing that was when things like really took off, and that started early as sophomore year where I started to have like a little bit more stake uh,
Mm.
in my training. So
Mm.
but definitely love some good strength work. Not to say that we didn't do any speed, but uh, we definitely weren't really too concerned about speed and more just like racing into shape sometimes.
Okay. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like your coach, for the freshmen would kind of try to weed out the people who wouldn't make it through the program, like because it sounds to me like he started to value your opinions more going into sophomore year, where you said you had more stake on the team to kind of talk things out. Was he kind of weeding people out in that freshman year?
I wouldn't say weed him out,
Yeah.
because it was more of like trying to get kids to buy in more than
Okay.
anything. We had a big team. I think we had 72 guys on the track and field roster at one time. So there was a lot of people he had to keep up with, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't seem like anyone was really left behind. More so, just like his constant bombardment of lectures trying to get people to buy in on on his vision that he had.
Yeah. So I think now we could talk about PRTC, and I kind of wanted to transition into, you know, first off, coming out of college where the training was somewhat aggressive, but you did very well and succeeded through it. Did you continue getting coached under Glavin, or did you kind of go off path and do your own thing or get a coach?
um, so I remember talking to Glavin when I was graduating, or at least like terminating my eligibility. Was like trying to get him to coach me, but it really just seemed like he had his hands full. He wasn't
Mm,
really able to give me the kind of quality that he was before, and him taking a very like um, open-minded approach when it came to training, when he like talking to me about like things I wanted to do and focus on. I felt like I was confident enough in what I had learned and picked up over the years to be able to train myself. So I
mm,
basically wrote all the training I did over the past year, taking a lot of aspects from what I did with him and also incorporating a lot of new stuff. I feel like I definitely trained a little bit smarter,
mm,
um,
mm,
and like a little bit more focused in on some of the goals I had.
mm. Yeah. So, he kind of thought of you as Coach Glavin kind of thought of you as more of a distance guy after your cross country season. Uh, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like because you're running 401 in the mile, which is insane. Do you feel like your times at the, longer distances are reflective of that, or?
So I didn't, in my personal opinion, I don't think I had a real cross country season until my senior year of college. My friend, one of my friends and teammates, Bobby, said I stopped being a little bitch my senior year in cross country because I actually started racing up to my track potential.
Mm,
Kind of,
mm,
I'd just get to the line with dead legs all the time, and I just sort of cast aside the idea of being like a long distance runner. But after some track 5Ks, I was kind of like, yeah, maybe I can do this. But I do um, actually, my Strava bio is just have mid D wannabe because that's how I still am.
yeah,
Uh,
that seems like where that's where the heart is at right now. Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, when you run a 154, you're just under 800 in high school. I think you're going to be leaning towards the speed, maybe more so. But um, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Talk to me about your experience with PRTC. Kind of how has that been? It's probably been quite a transition from college where you had 71 other athletes on your roster.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and at the level you're at, I don't want to roast PRTC, but I don't feel like there's a lot of people, at least in the speed side of things, that are running near your times. Like, I mean, there's fast people, but not like 401 fast. So, how has that
yeah.
experience been with PRTC? Are you training a lot alone, or are you still having overlap with teammates?
So one thing I would say is definitely lonely. There is a lot of stuff I have to do by myself. Like obviously, there's a wider range of people you can run with when you're just doing like distance runs and long runs and stuff. But when it came to workouts, I pretty much was in my own workout group and I was doing a lot of my own stuff and I was getting out on some Friday mornings alone to do stuff. And, it was like, it felt like everything I was doing was just like on me, and it was, I kind of liked it in a flexibility standpoint, but obviously I do miss like the trackside camaraderie when you're like with all your teammates dying in some workout. Um, but I will say being able to share the track, even if I'm not directly working out with people, has been really nice and a really good motivator
Hmm,
for just going out there and getting the work done.
hmm.
I still, even if I'm not working out with people directly, I still go to every Tuesday night track session. I'll be out there at 7 a.m. on the river for dawn patrol tempos. Um, yeah, it's just like I'm still present every step of the way for the club.
Yeah, I think even if you don't necessarily have someone to work out with, if just being in that atmosphere with other people working out, working hard, I think is usually sufficient. Although at the level you're training, I can imagine it can be pretty tough, especially for some of those really fast race specific lactate type of workouts I'm sure you're doing to try to break that sub 4. I mean, is that what workouts do you find are the hardest to do alone when you're trying to chase this sub 4 mile?
Probably like any kind of interval training. Um, Whenever you're trying to run race pace stuff, because when you're training race pace, which in this case, like we'll say like mile pace, um, you're usually used to running that kind of stuff in a race where you have somebody in front of you or some kind of competitive edge over you to kind of run those paces. So,
Mm,
if you're trying to run the race you are in, or run the pace that you're trying to compete at when you're in an actual race by yourself, then it gets a little hard. And like sometimes you think about adding another 10 seconds to your rest or something. But yeah, that's definitely been a tough aspect.
yeah.
I actually have no problem going out and doing like 10 or 12K worth of threshold on the track by myself on a Friday. Um, as odd as that sounds, like just me and the track is sometimes pretty therapeutic, especially
Mm.
as longer, not as intense aerobic stuff.
Are you doing your workouts in the evening, for your workout days?
Yeah, so Tuesday night is usually when we meet up at the track, and then Friday, depending on what I have going on that day, I'll be either working out early in the morning or I've been able to get out in the afternoon sometimes.
Okay. What's your preference for workout time? Morning or evening?
Not in the morning. I'm not a morning
Yeah.
guy. I
Yeah.
become a coffee drinker till this year because I've been forced to get out in the morning too many times.
Mm. Yeah. Do you get the lights on at the night too when you go on the track? Do they have the lights on?
No, sometimes actually most of last year we were working out in like pitch black
Oh.
on the Roxborough track over in like Roxborough Manioc. Uh,
Oh man.
in the winter, nothing better than just going like 20 degrees with 15-mile-per-hour winds in the pitch black, uh, dark, and just trying to hammer a workout. It makes it tough.
Absolutely, it's got to make you tough. And one thing I kind of have heard through the web through PRTC is that some you guys have had troubles with securing a track, like a consistent track to go to for your workouts, because recently you kind of lost a connection with someone from Temple, so like you don't get on that track as much. I might be wrong in saying that, but how has that been? Have you had to bounce around a lot, or have you had a consistent place to work out as of late?
So in the heat of COVID and everything, we were at Roxborough. Temple opened up their community hours, which is
Mm.
6 p.m. to 9 p.m. At the track. So that's when we transitioned over to there when that was available, and we actually just nailed down Franklin Field for Tuesday nights,
Oh, that's sweet.
which is fantastic because that's an awesome place to work out.
Absolutely. That's awesome, dude. They'd probably have lights for you too. You wouldn't have to work out in the pitch black.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about your chase for the sub 4. So I did some research and I found that you were originally going to race in Boston for your sub 4 attempt, and that kind of fell through because of travel or delays or something? What exactly
Big,
happened there?
yeah, there was a big snowstorm up in Boston, and they postponed I think it was a Terrier Classic. They they moved it to like a Sunday and stuff, and with travel and work and everything, like I probably logistically couldn't make it work. So I
Mm.
was like, screw it, I'm signing up for this random Penn State race, and I'm gonna go run a mile. But it's interesting because I actually showed up to that race and realized that um, a lot of other teams had the same idea. So Princeton, Nova, and like a few other teams that were actually penciled in to go to Terrier Classic actually pivoted and ended up going to the same meet at Penn State.
Hmm.
And there was actually the heat right before me had like four guys or something. Oh, and Penn was in there. Had guys go under four, but where the T comes in is that as a um, post collegiate running unattached or with a club, you kind of get out of those big races for
Yeah.
favoring the collegiate guys,
Mhm.
especially when it's like a big name team like Nova or Penn. So actually, I got booted out of the first heat into the second heat, which was a huge shame because I like given the race that I had that day, which I'll get into in a bit. I definitely could have ran like 358, I think, like
Mhm.
fitness. But so to dive into the race a little bit, um, there was just like some dude from Penn State offered to pace my heat and took me through 800 and like kind of slow, like 201, 202, and I left all with like open track in front of me after that. So every time I would come around, I would just like be like looking at the clock, like racing the clock. So uh,
Mhm.
I remember like 200 to go. I was like, I had to run a lap under 30, and I just like was like kind of getting there, but then I literally tied up the last like 30 meters, and I
Uh,
just missed it,
oh man.
or whatever it was.
Uh, yeah, I mean that has to hurt a little bit. I mean, it was a huge PR for you. I mean, I think it was like over almost 4 seconds PR. So and I feel like that's a tough place to be where you ran a really good time, but you still thought you had more in you if you had been in the heat prior.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I basically ran half that race alone, like totally alone, just looking at the clock, which you know,
Mhm.
everyone knows as well as I do that running alone, takes away that competitive edge, but also like uh,
Mhm.
you're doing all the work for yourself, and it
Mhm.
tends to tends to make you fatigue a little bit earlier. Uh,
Yeah.
I knew from like a fitness standpoint that I was like in fitness for well under four. Um,
Mhm.
but I was just gonna have to do it somewhere that winter.
What what um what sort of told you that you had the fitness to go under four going in that training block leading up to that mile? Was it any
Um,
particular workout, or was it just everything was going well? Like every workout was you were hitting them?
see, it's kind of weird because I only did 3 weeks of training after my fall training block. Before that, I
Mm.
did like a few like mile pace 300 kind of thing 2 weeks out and some aerobic stuff. And I actually didn't know what kind of fitness I was in. So that was a big, I'm just going to see where I'm at kind of.
Hmm.
And the legs were feeling good and everything. But I had a monster base coming out of the fall. So I was definitely had that under my belt when I was going in. The leg speed was uh, snapped back into my legs when it needed to, and um, kind of worked out in that way, I think.
What was your fall training block? Was that a cross country block for you?
Yeah, it was. I trained all the way up through club cross nationals, and then I took a
Okay.
week off or so.
Out of curiosity, what was the time you ran to close off your cross country season?
Oof, it was. I'm just gonna leave that for if people want to see the results. Go look up It was down in Tallahassee, and it was not fast.
Okay.
it was
Okay.
it was hottest day in history in December in Tallahassee.
Okay. I think I heard bad things about that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was a disaster for everybody in the race.
Yeah, I think I was seeing some of the PRTC guys' stories, like Ethan Herman, and a lot of them were just talking about how hot it was and terrible.
Yeah, it was
But
not fun.
so after you ran that 401, were you kind of like, I gotta go again, like I'm there, or did you want to take a break at that point and kind of relax for a little bit, reset?
I was like, I need to get this. I need to race another mile like ASAP is what I thought. Because a lot of people say strike the iron when it's hot.
Hmm.
Uh, I was eager to get another mile. So 2 weeks later, at I think it was the Valentine Invitational at Boston, um, I went at it again and ended up actually getting tripped and race
Mm.
700 in or something.
Ugh, that's unfortunate, man. So did you call your season after that, or did you kind of continue and train more?
2 weeks later, got another mile up in Boston. Um, this time, real bad pacing. Pacer took us out in 204. Um, Came back in like 157 and ended up with another 401.
Mm.
Uh, can't trust these Pacers.
Man, you need a good pacer. We need to get you a good pacer, man.
That's not even the end of the bad pacing. If you want to ask about the Delaware Mile Challenge, which I'm actually wearing the shirt, ironically.
There it is. Dude, tell me about it. I want to hear about it.
So, I mean, after the third mile indoors, I was pretty much like, all right, I'm just gonna call it a season. There's not much left after that Boston last chance meet. But I remember Joe Compag, the old coaches from Monmouth, who I think he's transitioned into kind of meet directing now, reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be part of this mile field. They're going for the first sub 4 mile on Delaware soil. They're getting people like Sam Parsons because he was at his high school, was at Tatnall High School, and Casey Comer and all the goons over at Under Armour.
Oh, is that where Sam Parsons set the Delaware record, the state?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. So you're in the
yeah.
heat
So
before then?
no, I was in that race.
You were in that race. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Um, but yeah, so we put our trust in the pacer, and I think it was Jackson Lewis at the time was the pacer. Takes us through in 203-ish.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it was that one was cutting it close though. Actually, ended up placing fourth in that race. Actually, I'm very happy with the placement. I think
Mm,
being able to run with those guys
mm,
in the spring was like a really big confidence booster for me. But
mm.
once again, edging that sub 4. It was like 4 flat 0.53 or something. I don't know the exact time.
Oh man.
But
Dude,
just another one of those in my back pocket.
absolutely.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Just tracing sub 4 runner clout.
Hmm. Absolutely, dude. Right when you break sub 4, you're gonna gain like 10K followers on your Instagram.
I hope so. Actually,
um,
Strava. Follow me on
Stra-
Strava. That's
I'll put his Strava in the chat at the end of this, guy. So definitely go give him a follow for sure. Follow his training. Speaking of, we only got about 6 minutes left, so it's gonna kick us out. But we'll get into a fun section. But first, I just want to hear kind of what you're. Are you training for anything right now? What's kind of on the horizon for you in terms of racing? And is that sub 4 mile in your mind right now, or are you kind of taking a break to train for fall, like cross country stuff?
um just trying to become an aerobic machine again, like I did last fall. But Rothman and Club Cross are the only two big guys on the schedule right now. I don't really like road racing that much, so it's more of just a focus to get ready for track season.
Okay, so even in your cross country training, you're still kind of thinking about your track season. So that's
Yeah,
kind of the priority for you.
It's always in the back of my mind.
And is that kind of reflected in your training during the fall season? Like, are you going to be doing some faster workouts, kind of more specific to, okay, just all aerobic?
Nah, yeah, it's just like just building the aerobic engine, because then you could just stack everything on top after.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get into a more fun section here, and then we'll let you go. We only got about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so we'll make this quick. But
All right.
basically, I'll just tell you one or the other, and you'll choose what your preference is. So I think you'll get it. So, all right. So track or road?
Track.
That's pretty obvious for you. Indoor or outdoor track?
Was indoor prior to this year, but I think outdoor.
Okay. 1500 meter or 1600 meter, or third option, actual mile, 1609.
Actual mile.
Okay.
I'm not metric.
None of that metric stuff. Cross country or track?
Track.
Yeah, that makes sense. Split shorts or half tights?
Splitties.
Okay. I respect that. Running hat or no hat?
Only when it's raining.
Okay. Tempos or speed work?
Speed work every time.
Yeah. Long runs or workouts?
Workouts.
Okay. 800 or 5K?
That's a tough one.
I knew that was gonna be tough for you. That's why I made it.
I love a good 800, but I feel like I'd be betraying people if I said 800. So I'll say 5K.
When's the last time you did an 800? Out of curiosity.
Years. I mean, I've done them in workouts, but
okay.
Like I've never towed the line in 800 since like my junior year of college or something.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyways, continuing. Giving kudos to everyone or only to, the eye candy workouts?
I distribute kudos how I see fit. But if someone rips a workout, I gotta throw them kudos.
Okay. Conservative racing or front running?
Smart racing.
Smart racing. Okay. Good answer. It's not an answer, but okay. If you had to choose front running, okay. Sunday long runs or Saturday long runs?
Sunday. Only psychos do long runs on Saturdays.
Oh, I totally disagree, but you know what? It's about you, so I want this.
Church of the Sunday long run.
And lastly, training or racing?
Training.
I like that. Me too, man. All the way.
Champions are made when nobody's watching.
I like that, man. I like that. I'm gonna quote that one when I make my podcast thumbnail. Anyway, so we got 2 minutes left. So, just to close, what do you got to say for all the people out there who, there's not many of them, but all the people who want to break sub 4 in the mile, who are close and are trying to get it?
It's really hard, and it's a very exclusive club. Also, follow me on Strava.
Zach Michon wants to follow on Strava. Everyone go follow him. I'll put the Strava in the chat. Is there anything else you want me to put in there? Your Instagram? I could throw your Instagram in there if you want. Get some clout on Instagram.
Just boost my clout as much as you can.
Yes. This with the sub 4 mile you run next year. It's going to happen. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Zach. This was fun. And I hope your training goes well. Best of luck with cross country season, and let me know how it goes.
All right. Cheers, man.
Yeah. Cheers. Have a good one.